Hi, and welcome to Bits of Blender. I'm here with my boy Richard.
Hello.
We're going to do a quick tip on object mapping. And object mapping is another way of putting an image onto an object. I'm going to start by creating an image. In our UV editor. I'll just make it white. And mouse wheel out. And I'll click the pencil to edit it. Then type C. I'll make this red. Make the brush opaque. Make it a little bit bigger. I'll get this out of the way. There's our artwork. Smiley. Now we're going to map it onto this object. So first let's go to our textures. Make it an image texture. We're going to tell it to use Smiley. We're going to also say clip cube. Then we're going to, let me type Z so it's wireframe. See what's going on here. Shift A to add an empty. We're going to tell this cube to map to the object, to the empty that we just created that happens to be called empty. Now what happens, and let me change the cube's color so we can get a better idea of what's going on. When we render it, we see Smiley there. But the cool thing is, now we're going to use this empty object to decide where that image goes on the object. Right now, if we type N, we'll see that the empty has a scale of 1 in all 3 axes. So the image is going to be projected along the Z-axis. So you'll see it here, because here's the center of the object. Let me turn off this widget. From the center to here is one Blender unit, and it happens to be touching it there, as well as if we looked on the bottom, we'd also see it. If we only want it on the top, we can move that up. So now it's not going to be hitting the bottom. We render it. Now you'll see a little bit of this coming down here along the sides.
Yeah.
What we can do is we can scale this down a little bit. Now we can scale it just on all 3 axes. I bet the viewers would like to see the rendering. So you can see I scaled it down. Let me do Alt S to clear scale, and I'll render again with F12. And you can see that it's just perfectly hitting the edge there. So we're getting some of it, but we're not getting it all the way down because this object, the texture mapping goes from this point down to the center, that's 1. Then also here, it goes down 1 Blender unit, which is about there. Now if we don't want, if we only want it on the one side, we can scale it down, hit F12. Now if we move it down on the Z, you can see the Z is not touching here.
Right.
Because that's what we're using as a visual marker for the distance. It's going to be either this distance going up along its local Z, or this distance going down. We render it, and we won't see it. But now if we bring it up, and let's say we rotate it around 180 degrees, there we go.
Yeah.
Now we can also rotate, not just scale. So we could rotate along the Z.
Oh, yeah, he's kind of on the side. Well, you know, rotated.
Yeah. And because it's spread over the side at that point. Now, again, if we want the empty in a different position, here we're not going to see it because it's only going to go the texture space this distance either direction along the Z. So we could just do scale along the Z. Now we will see it.
Cool.
If we want to scale, if we've got it in the position we want it in, we can still scale it along the X and Y. Like if I want to make the X and Y a little bit bigger, I could hit S for scale, Shift Z, so it doesn't scale along the Z. Blow it up a little bit.
Oh, so it got bigger.
And now I can also select the cube. Now the cube's the active object. And parent the empty to the cube. So now when I move the cube, the texture moves with it. If I scale the cube, texture scales nicely too. But I can still, manipulate the child. Like say I want to clear that rotation on there. I didn't really want to clear all the rotation. I just really. Here we go. Now you don't have to. You're not limited to just using images, of course, that you create in Blender. You can bring in an image, and then let's just go over here to our textures. We'll say, let's use the Blender logo instead. And maybe we'll center it a little bit more. F12.
Cool. It's a little bit squished because it's not as tall as it should be.
Yeah, and well, we can scale it whatever these proportions are. I happen to know, because I just paused the video and looked, that this logo is 460 pixels by 128 pixels. So I'm just going to use that ratio to start out to get the right dimensions, and then scale it up and down from there. So there's the little tiny one.
It's hard to see.
And then I'll do scale, Shift C, scale it up a little bit. 12. There we go.
It's getting more visible.
Yep. And if we don't want it backwards, we can bring this back around. Let's just bring it in here. There we go, Blender.
Woohoo! Go Blender!
All right, that's object mapping.
Bye!
See you next time.